Hey, what's going on everybody? This is Peter coming at you through the tubes of the internet. Today, taking a look at the latest release from PUP, an album called Morbid Stuff. I'm excited to discuss and glad you could join.
Fast Facts.
Morbid Stuff, released April 5th, 2019 via Rise Records, is the third studio LP from Toronto, Ontario-based pop punkers PUP. The group currently consists of 4 members: frontman Stefan Babcock, bassist Nestor Chumak, drummer Zach Mikula, and guitarist Steve Sladkowski.
Backstory.
Pathetic Use of Potential, aka PUP, are 3 albums into their run as a band, and the Canadian 4-piece have pretty much stuck to the same formula for all their releases thus far. Coupling high-intensity punk instrumentals with witty and emotional lyrics, the group have risen to the top tier of the punk scene after just a half-decade. But despite the band being only 3 LPs in, it's somewhat surprising they've even made it to this point. The title of PUP's second record, The Dream Is Over, refers to a grim prognosis Stefan received from a doctor regarding the health of his vocal cords, and since that point the band's future's been somewhat up in the air. But nevertheless, PUP have made it to LP3 Morbid Stuff, and here, fittingly, the gang sound like they're going for broke. Anthemic sing-along punk is still the core the record's built on, but PUP are able to seamlessly branch off from there in a number of interesting ways. From show-tunesy romps to metal breakdowns to oldies doo-wop sounds, PUP delve into tons of different styles on this release and pretty much get everything to stick. Dead serious bleak songs butt up against goofy novelty tunes, and somehow the band makes it all work across the board. Morbid Stuff's another fantastic accomplishment from a great band at the top of their game.
Track-by-track analysis.
This release has 11 tracks and clocks in at 37 minutes. The album has a brisk pace to go with its large variety of sounds, and there's a wide dynamic range facilitated by the genre jumps discussed earlier. Morbid Stuff's half hour flies by, but the release is paced just right and has tons of replayability.
Track 1, Morbid Stuff.
Huge arena rock guitars ring out to start this album, before Babcock describes being bored as fuck and getting lost in an endless stream of worries. The first verse is a perfect description of being all in your head with the mind racing through insecurities, and then the chorus lyrics describe a manic drunken state, up all night going hard in the city. It's the perfect subject matter to accompany the blasting pop instrumentals the cut bursts into. Stefan details his world going to shit around him as he's trying to hold it all together. These lines could apply to either the failing relationships Babcock describes across the record, or to society in general. Everything here is so broadly relatable, but told via direct and incisive lyrics. It really works well. I also love the lo-fi acoustic production for the outro here, with its chill and earnest lyrics. PUP used this approach for the majority of song endings on the album, and it ties the wealth of musical arrangements together nicely. Eventually it gets a bit played out, but here it's really fresh and captivating. Big time thumbs up for this title track. It had me hooked right from that first line, and the subtle Motowny twinge to the pop punk style it progressed into landed great. It sets an incredible tone for the record, and it's just an awesome track.
Track 2, Kids.
This second cut serves as the lead single for the album, and it's a pretty straightforward pop-punk tune. Surfy little guitar flourishes crop up around the choruses, and Babcock channels the Hold Steady's Craig Finn for some line delivery during the verses. Stefan's beloved car Mabu makes a reappearance in the lyrics to tie this track in with established lore, and the awesome video calls back scenes from Guilt Trip's vid. Thematically, a vapid and shallow existence is described in the vocals, with characters who have chosen to just embrace the meaningless of life and go with it. The first verse comes from Stefan's perspective and the second from his partner's, but both essentially arrive at the same conclusion, that all the bad stuff can be tuned out if they focus on the one thing they truly care about, each other. The remainder of the song teeters back and forth between should I give in to my demons and end it, or is life okay cause you're by my side. The chorus and bridge juggle these options, and in the end, the dark side seems to win out. That tracks with the overall outlook of the album and makes for another great tune.
Track 3, Free at Last.
This track focuses on sloppy Steffi's history as a chronic fuck-up, setting his partner's expectations low and still having a difficult time living up to them. She's forced to call him out on his disappointing behavior with the repeated chorus lines, This theme mirrors another favorite tune of mine, Sorority Noise's Art School Wannabe, where being gloomy might provide some self-serving catharsis, but can be a real drag to the people you're interacting with IRL. Musically, I love the Cut's approach to the instrumental break, where guitarist Steve Sladkowski first plays the melody line as a blown-ass-out, distorted solo, and then the group sing the same notes back with pretty gang vocals and oohs and ahs, all while drummer Zach Mikula's galloping percussion drives things forward. A simple and straightforward track, but still a ton of fun with an energetic rock sound.
Track 4, See You at Your Funeral.
Here, Babcock describes living in a hell of his own creation, which involves eating healthy foods and trying to clean up his act. As the track progresses, we learn these positive lifestyle choices are all a ploy to get back at an ex, and this comes to a head on the song's rollicking chorus. It grabs the lyrical delivery of a Broadway-esque rock opera sound and finds Stefan sarcastically wishing his former partner well. The bouncy melody here is in stark contrast to the lyrical subject matter, which grows progressively more spiteful as the tune goes on. By the bridge, Babcock's not only saying, I hope you die, but I hope we both die, and I hope the entire universe ceases to exist. This scorched earth sentiment is big, broad, and awesome, and it matches the music. Excellent cut overall.
Track 5, Scorpion Hill.
Up on Scorpion Hill, watching life.
The album's longest track comes in the form of this 5-minute epic, which juggles campfire folksy Americana with PUP's classic pop-punk sound. The intro finds Babcock secluding himself in nature and drinking away his problems. As he puts it. And as bleak as the songwriting is elsewhere on this release, this track takes it to a whole new level of jet black. A minute in, the instrumental picks up, but the scene isn't any less grim. The setting switches to a dingy basement with only a tiny sliver of light illuminating a mattress on the floor surrounded by cigarette butts and filth. Stefan's character's at rock bottom, and these lyrics portray it perfectly. The song has just a couple short chorus lines, but they're really effective. The dual meaning of being on the rocks is a witty turn of phrase, and the isolation is palpable. The lyricism here is off the charts as it describes a downward spiral, including the loss of a job, mental health, and eventually an entire family. This is my favorite song on the album and one of my favorites from the band overall. The story builds in such a sad and satisfying way. The last line drops an atomic bomb of emotion on the listener, similar to the ending of Sleep in the Heat from the band's previous record. The accordion outro rules, and this is just an incredible cut.
Track 6, Closure.
On this track, Babcock laments that he'll never feel right again after the loss of a friend. It's a nice sentiment, but also true to form, the tune has a tinge of cheeky selfishness. Like, who gave you permission to die when you know it'd make me feel bad? My favorite musical element here are the high, plinking guitar notes that come in for the last minute. I love the harmonic sound and the tiny, delicate taps, and it's integrated in with the heavier elements in a cool way as the song's wrapping up. Overall, I think I took the least away from this track. The chorus is just that one simplistic line, "I need closure," and content-wise, this doesn't seem quite as meaty as other tracks here. It's the type of song that could be a great sing-along for live shows with its straightforward and rockin' approach. I just don't think it has quite as much to offer as a listen on the record.
Track 7, Bloody Mary, Kate and Ashley.
This track is as deeply goofy as the name implies and details a weird drugged-out seance. Doo-woppy verses lead into bubblegummy choruses and both are infectiously catchy. I would have thought the Olsen twin thing was just going to be a throwaway gag for the title, but the Absolute Mad Lads actually integrated into the lyrics of this tune, and that's what I love about it. It seems to have just one goal, and that's being cool. It's a huge set-piece scene that they're crafting, describing every detail of a dark ritual and summoning some undead creep. Literally anything could be starred on this release as far as I'm concerned, but I'm just going to single this one out as being pure fun. The way the record does devastatingly dead serious stuff and then goes straight into something this outright silly is a one-of-a-kind feature, and I'm way into it.
Track 8, Sibling Rivalry.
On the album's final pre-release single, Babcock ponders how the people you're closest to have a unique ability to push your buttons. Like how a good friend or probably hero relative can exploit that closeness to get on your nerves. The track's setting is a camping trip, and PUP draws on their Canadian roots to establish a northern, wintry aesthetic.
Holy shit, it's coming down 3 feet of snow. The frozen
It's a staple of the band that they've used on tunes like Dark Days, and its unique quality that works great here. Musically, this is by the book PUP, and that's a good thing. The band busts out 3 minutes of punk, and it totally rocks.
Track 9, Full.
PUP goes straight up metalcore for this tune, and one of their biggest departures on the record, and the song totally rips. Bassist Nestor Chumat gets out in front of the mix with a springy slap bass tone that leads the verse instrumental, and the song continuously builds to new, grittier progressions across the runtime, until the intensity is completely maxed out. Lyrically, Babcock makes himself out to be a sideshow freak, where people line up to see him go through the tortures of the damned, essentially. The song's incredibly self-aware and puts both the performer and the listener on blast, in PUP's own trademark tongue-in-cheek way. The band's final breakdown here is almost comically over-the-top heavy, and it just rules.
Track 10, Bare Hands.
The indie arena rock sound of this tune's chorus is a standout feature to my ear. The hook's insanely catchy and the anthemic feel just bursts out of the speakers. There's a ton of boring bands in this genre who couldn't pull this chorus off on their best day, but PUP effortlessly nailed the sound on their first attempt on a one-off deep track. Lyrics describe time and seasons passing and Stefan trying to get over an old flame, but all progress goes out the window as soon as she contacts him. This cycle of being used for companionship when it's convenient for the other person is exhausting to Babcock, and he does a great job of conveying that always tired feeling on this tune.
Track 11, City.
I was on the outside. I was looking at.
On this final cut, PUP described being weighed down in the city, occupying one place too long and settling in too deep to escape. This idea works well at face value, but I could also see it extending to feeling trapped in the band or a relationship. Any kind of commitment where they were once infatuated and now it's dragged down and become a burden. Even this late in the game, PUP are still introducing new sounds. The laid-back start to this cut seems like it draws on an 80s new wave feel, and it uses almost exclusively sounds that haven't been featured on the album yet. Once the instrumentals start to pick up, I really like how buried the vocals get. This production choice makes it seem like the track's so maxed out by the abrasive instrumentation that there's no room left for the lyrics to make it through. I've complained about this quality on other releases, but here it's consciously used to great effect, to create a claustrophobic feel of being trapped in the city, while Stefan sings about clawing his way out through rot and decay. The screeching guitars and throbbing drums max out the soundscape to close this song, and it's a really colossal ending to an epic album.
Verdict.
On Morbid Stuff, PUP sound like they're going for broke on every single song. They're taking shots at new sounds and fully committing across the board. I could go on all day about how much I love this album, but
Why am I fucking around? This is a 5-fork chain! Wow!
this is a towering 10 out of 10, a total no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. Back-to-back 10s with The Dream Is Over, and I can't think of a band with a better run of albums to start their career. There's so much to love here that anyone who gives it a fair shake could get into this record. This is my most anticipated album of the year, and I think it delivers across the board.
I'll take it easy with the morbid stuff.
So that pretty much wraps up my thoughts on the record. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the release, my critique, or the review format in general. Making this is a lot of work, but also fun, and definitely worth it if it helps some people wrap their head around the record. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.
It's a series of tubes.